So I have with me Guru Renato again.
Learn from my ancient wisdom.
He's a very wise man, and we're discussing gaming memories again. It's a little segment I've created, and something that I'm not the only one out there who's a retro gaming nerd and who finds gaming memories very fascinating to hear
Well,
about.
nostalgia is a human thing, and for us gamers, that means gaming nostalgia.
Yeah, that's right. And gaming nostalgia is, you know how big that is. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Oh yeah.
So, Renato, what is the earliest gaming memory that you can remember? How did little 3 or 4 or 5 year old Renato first get his hands on a video game?
Man, I don't know. I mean, the first console I had, my family had, was an NES. And I couldn't tell you exactly um, what the first game I played was. I remember playing a lot of games as a kid. Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt. The Super Mario Bros. Cartridge that came with the Duck Hunt.
Yep.
Kung Fu was one that I played. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for the NES. A lot of people hated, but I thought was great. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I played it a lot, but I
But
sucked at it as a kid.
it's because it was hard.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's that's
Um,
true.
but my first real clear gaming memory has got to be playing Dragon Warrior on the NES.
Oh, Dragon Warrior.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating game to start with as a young buck.
Well, it's the first game I remember clearly playing through. It's the first game I remember really being into. And it's the first game I remember beating, though I'm sure I beat other ones.
Dang,
Um,
so you even beat it as a kid. You didn't just
oh
play it, you
yeah,
beat the dang thing.
yeah, I'm a goddamn genius. Hasn't anybody ever told you?
And I heard, I never got into Dragon Warrior, but I heard Dragon Warrior 1, isn't that the one where you had to do things in a very specific order or the mobs would just slaughter you in one hit because you went to a zone that was
Oh yeah,
meant to
no,
be a zone?
there were no like barriers to where you would go if you just happened to wander too far and got into an area where tougher monsters spawned and you weren't ready for it, you'd get your ass dead. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's a famous Dragon Warrior thing I've heard.
There's nothing like fighting some slimes, wandering around. Oh hey, a magician, and I'm dead.
Yeah, that's classic. And only on the NES. Those were the glory days.
Oh yeah.
So I'm guessing that turned you into an RPG gamer after that forever. You were forever turned to the RPG genre.
I was definitely turned onto the JRP genre hard for a long while. Cut down only by the fact that most Final Fantasy games are kind of crap, and that was what was largely available was Final Fantasy games. But I
Yeah,
did play a lot of RPGs, and I bet that's probably why I got so into D&D eventually.
that's what I was gonna lead into. Yeah, it usually starts with RPGs and then it leads into more.
Yeah.
And okay, so Dragon Warrior was a big one. And what else would you remember? What would have been your side games as a young Renato?
I don't super remember playing the first Legend of Zelda, though I know I owned it and I know I played through it a lot. Though I didn't ever beat it as a kid because I don't think we actually owned a copy. But I did play it a lot. But I do remember clearly playing and beating Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link.
Oh, you beat Zelda too. That was a tough game.
Yeah, that was a hard goddamn game, but I
Holy
beat it,
crap.
and I'm one of the best players of it that I know to date.
Holy crap. Yeah, I remember playing that as a kid, and that was a tough game. I really enjoyed it. I loved the game, but it
Mhm.
was tough. It was a really difficult game.
Yeah, no, it's hard, and it's not actually unfair hard, you know. Um, Castlevania, for example, can sometimes be a little unfair in how it's hard, though for the most part it's pretty good. But Zelda 2, while it was hard and while it was uh, unforgiving,
Hmm.
was very fair. There was always the chance to do things right and to not screw up. And if you did screw up, it was your fault.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
The
That's a fair
game
statement.
the game didn't screw you. You fucked up, and that's why you got dead.
Yeah, that was a classic. What about did you have any memories of playing with friends or your brothers? Like, was there any that classic two-player
Oh,
go-to game, or
yes.
even a game that you would take turns on? It didn't have to be co-op. But what were the go-to
Um,
games?
we had a copy of Super Mario Brothers 3, 2 and 3 that we played a lot, as well as the first one. That you'd load up two-player mode, and that way you'd take turns playing. But we also had a copy of Gauntlet 2. And my one regret from childhood is that we did not have the four-player controller extension for the NES,
Oh, that would have been
because
nice.
because Gauntlet 2 could handle four players.
Dang,
So because there were four of us, me and my three brothers,
that would have been perfect. You were
it would have been
living
amazing.
you were living in the perfect household to have lived through those rare glory days because it was very rare to get a four-player game back then.
Yep. But
Incredibly rare.
no four-player extension, so we had to make do with just two players. But we did co-op play Gauntlet 2 a lot. And with the four of us around, it would just be whenever one of us died, somebody else would switch in for them.
That's awesome.
Because Gauntlet 2, as long as you had one person alive, you could keep going, basically. Because a new person could just pop in.
Oh, how did that work? Like the next level you could pop in or could you revive
No,
yourself?
just if you died, you could just push a button and have a new person there, as long as somebody else was still alive.
Okay, so you literally have to both die to end it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. See, I played Gauntlet 2, but I really don't remember it. I didn't play it all that much. I own it. I own it somewhere behind me. Gauntlet 2.
It
And number
was it
1.
was great. Randomized levels. You had the various classes, which did have their strengths and weaknesses, which were pretty clear once you'd played it a little bit.
Was there a particular class that just sucked? Like, was the elf or somebody just
Um,
like nobody ever wanted to be him because he sucked?
the elf kind of sucked in multiplayer. If you were playing by yourself, the elf was actually really strong, because the elf's advantage over other classes is that the elf moved fast, which is helpful because in Gauntlet 2, your life is not a health bar, it's a time limit. And you can get food and stuff to get more time, but as you take damage, you lose time faster. Um,
So he could kind of speed through the levels, but I guess you can't speed
yeah,
very
he could.
much if there's a slow guy dragging you down
Yeah,
behind you.
you have to work on the same screen, and if you're moving really fast, that's not helping you all that much if somebody else is holding up the screen.
Right. And who would be the best character? Was there a
My
best character? Was it the wizard? The Valkyrie?
um, I think probably the warrior was the best character in that game overall. The warrior's only real weakness is that he sucked at using potions. He would have the least amount of enemies killed when using a potion. Um, but the thing with the warrior was, yeah, he sucked at using potions, but all the other stuff, like he moved at a normal pace. His shot did the maximum amount of damage, and he could melee enemies um, relatively quickly. So he was overall the easiest to use for most situations, because honestly, he didn't use potions all that much.
Right.
The wizard was kind of my favorite to use, because the wizard had the same shot damage as the warrior. It did full damage. But the wizard moved a little slower and couldn't really melee enemies. But the wizard also had the best potion use and took out the most enemies when using potions.
Yeah, that game's a classic. I gotta get into that again. I have the 4-player
Yeah.
adapter too. I'll
Oh,
have to
yeah?
set that up one of these days. See if I can get some people into it.
Hey, I'd be into it.
But
I'm
all
not
right.
sure I'd be fly across the country into it, but
Yeah, well, hey,
I'd
you know what?
definitely be into it.
Maybe I'll bring it with me next time I head to Ontario. I don't know when that's gonna be though. We'll see. Might be a while. All right, thanks for the memories, Renato. We'll have you on again sometime very, very soon.
All right, look forward to it.
Talk to you later.
Bye.